You noticed all the new user interface on Zoom.
Um,
I s-
fortunately, I
meeting is now.
did not, but Steve did. Somehow my Zoom is not updated.
Well, wait a minute. What are we talking about here? What am I
Zoom
missing?
version 6 has all these new user interface things.
Oh,
All I know is that when I come on to the scene, I can't turn my microphone or camera on.
did I just get cut out? Am I on there?
You're
Sorry.
still here. You're still here.
Good. Yeah. I was searching for new user interface stuff, and all of a sudden, poof, you went away.
I got
Yeah.
a notice.
I
Well,
think there's some new views. Like there's a multi-speaker view, and there's a theme.
Hmm.
hmm.
Well, I will do that now. I'll get carried away.
Oh, yeah, let's not update our programs and everything in the middle of the show.
Has Steve lost his voice? Is that
No, he's in a grumpy mood. This is the Steve, shut the fuck up. Let's get on with the show look.
McGrumpster?
All right.
No,
Okay,
it's
fine.
it's the I haven't seen you guys in
Or
weeks,
not.
and I miss you look.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I've got the I miss you look on.
You're good. You make up for Steve.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Where is everything here? Okay.
We are streaming.
Yes, we are streaming. We're streaming live to Facebook. What are the other platforms? X, Twitter. That's X/Twitter. Possibly LinkedIn, but probably not. And YouTube. We're about to start the Gillmor game. We have not started yet. Okay, here we go. And Steve, I'm gonna adjust your
And they're off.
slightly and give it over to you. So mute is off, and we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is the Gillmor Gang. Joining us from Palo Alto is Keith Tier. He's got a hard stop at the hour mark. I'll introduce him and then admonish him to not talk about what he wants to talk about, and then we'll move on.
Ooh,
Actually, my hard stop has disappeared. So,
No, that's
Oh, now he can talk about anything.
and I'm
yeah.
in Palo Alto, which is President Biden was here yesterday. The traffic was all.
oh,
Marissa Meyer had a fundraiser for him at her house last night.
oh.
so.
And how was it, Keith?
No, that's his lower third, plus some.
Right.
From London is Frank Radis.
Hi, Steve. Hello, gangsters. How are you? It's a beautiful Saturday here in London today, and 75 degrees, unusual. Still got light out. It's excellent.
All right.
From the framework of Massachusetts is Dennis Pombriand.
Yes, here at the organizing committee of the Big Blue Tsunami.
Boy, tell us how you feel, Dennis.
Dream on.
His
I
t-shirt
think
matches.
I hope to
Not
God
Well,
he's
you know,
right.
I've been watching the Trump trial, and I'm sure we'll get into that more.
Oh yeah, we will.
But, I haven't seen late night comedy have so much to feast on since Johnny Carson did Watergate.
Man,
Mm.
it's great for the whole gang.
Ooh,
I
look
love.
who's here.
Well,
I love.
he's got to connect his video.
I love to watch the clips shows that show the different clips from the late night shows and Bill Maher in particular. And it's really something.
And
Yeah,
let's
Jimmy Kimmel's doing
and look who's shown
great
up.
business.
So from the state of confusion is, yeah, is Brent Leary. Welcome. We didn't expect you, but we're glad you joined.
Yeah, I didn't expect me either, but
Well,
I'm
what
here.
happened then?
Life.
You're exhausted. You're exhausted, but
I'm not too tired to do what I have to do.
Whoa.
I just love that enthusiastic energy that like
Yeah, well, he makes up for you, Keith.
Oh, shots are fired already. Okay.
Yeah, it's early in the game. But and we don't have a hard out. That's good.
Well, welcome back, Brent.
To my extreme right is the producer and director of the show, Tina Chase Hall Gillmor.
Oh, no, you got that all wrong.
Exactly.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, Tina
everybody.
Chase MAGA Gilmore, if she's to your far right.
Ah,
There's the attitude.
No.
Now we're cooking. Okay, and I think that's everybody.
did you do Dennis?
Oh yeah, Blue Tsunami.
Framework of Massachusetts. It
Oh
was
yeah, my short-term memory's shot.
Oh, do you have Bobby Kennedy's Worm?
no.
Brainworms and Stormy Daniels in the same week.
know, they're-
Unbelievable.
Hopefully
father.
not. If I do have a brainworm, I hope it isn't his brainworm. That's all I can say.
Well, there's no room for any but his brainworm. There's no brain in there, is there?
Oh,
Yikes.
ouch.
I just think it's amazing that he's pitching himself as the young candidate. I mean, it just blows me away.
Right. How old is he? Like 72 or?
I think he's 70 something, somewhere between 70 and 72, I think. Yeah. And obviously he is the young candidate compared to the other two. But
Definitely
I was
chronologically.
I was watching an interview with a neuropsychiatrist about that worm situation, and although Kennedy says he's okay now, the doctor said it doesn't go away. The damage never gets better, never gets fixed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sometimes a worm might eat your brain.
Well, the early bird get. Oh, wait a minute. I'll just stop.
That was a really good cartoon this week. The bird pecking the worm out of his head.
Yeah.
It depends what part of his brain it got to and ate. It may be part of
That
the brain
sounds terrible.
that
Doesn't it?
doesn't do anything. I don't know. We don't know exactly everything about the brain.
Well, unfortunately, every part of the brain does something.
We just don't know what it is.
And if you get down to the core of the brain, the stem and things like that, you get to pieces of the brain that do things like keep your heart pumping and you keep you breathing, things that you don't have consciousness of. And so there's no good solution here.
Keep the
I
word.
thought I had read that some doctors had stated that there were some critical parts of the brain that had been destroyed. At least I believe I read that somewhere. Could have been the Inquirer. Are they still publishing? By
That would have to be, that's kind of spin, isn't it? That there are some parts that are important.
You know what? I didn't say that it got to important parts. I said it did severe damage, I think. Whatever. We can always roll back and look what I said was.
Brent.
he was on Bill Maher 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I mean, he's got some kind of voice impediment in his throat, but apart from that, he seems, even though you might disagree with him, you wouldn't accuse him of having lost it. He's quite coherent in what are often views I strongly disagree with, but he is coherent and logical.
Coherent and logical in his insanity.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you could
well,
say that about a paranoid person too.
He may not fit into the selection.
Yeah, I don't think he's. I mean, the caricatures of him. One must always be suspicious of any
Well, of
caricatures.
course, yeah.
But
right.
the caricatures of him as right wing, I don't think he's particularly right wing. I think he's got opinions about things that one should worry about, like immigration, for example. But he's not the only one.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, interestingly enough, though, he doesn't sway the way what's her name, who picked up 180,000 votes in a recent primary, who dropped out 2 months ago.
Nikki Haley.
Once Nikki Haley started showing that she still has clout out there. I can't see Kennedy's votes being the one that does any pulling away. I see her votes being the one that might cause some damage. And the damage that they would cause is that they would take votes away from Trump, which would make Biden, more likely to be the winner.
So is she's going to be on the ballot for?
No, he just
No.
means her people will vote for Biden.
Oh,
Or
Stay home.
or they'll vote for her. I wouldn't be surprised to see a significant number of people voting for her, regardless of whether she's on the ballot. I'll bet you that we're going to wake up the next morning and see that she got maybe it's 0.05% or something, but still a significant number of people I think will vote for her if the primary that just went by and the one prior to it, where she also took some significant votage. Those are signs to me. Anyway, anything over 2 to me is a sign.
What is Kennedy polling at? I thought it was double-digit percent.
No, he's high single digits, and he's actually taking more away from Trump than from Biden, which is why Trump began campaigning against him.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Anyway, probably not the main news of the week, right?
and is he going to be on the ballot in all 50 states?
He
Not yet.
claims he is. He was only on one when he was on the Bill Maher show, and Mark called him out, and he said, "No, I'll be on every state." I don't know where that comes from, that belief, but he did state that was what he believed was going to happen.
Yeah, you got to believe that that's exactly what he would say.
Right.
What do you think, Dennis? You follow these things. What do you think? Is he going to be on the ballot everywhere?
I think not. I think there are some states that, like Texas, for example, that have very stringent rules about who can sign the petition. I think it's Texas that says that in order to sign the petition, you have to swear that you did not vote in the primary. So right away, those are people that are not necessarily fully involved in the political process, and who would have less interest in signing a third party candidate's petition. So I think it's going to be hard for Kennedy to get on anything close to 50 state ballots, and it'll be interesting to see if he's on more red state ballots or more blue state ballots.
In any case, there's still a possibility that people will sign in, will write in a name.
Sure.
And that, I think there's going to be numbers attached to those write-ins, even if they're not a formal third-party candidate. Nikki Haley.
I wish I could take some of that bet.
Well, I'm not actually going to put money on the table.
Therefore, it's what's it called? A lightly held belief.
It's a gentleman's bet, Keith.
A gentleman's bet.
Yes, that's what they call it.
Or
do you recognize in Steve something resembling a gentleman?
Ooh, you're still up. I thought he was going to put you out. So there you go.
He could.
So let's talk about the trial of the century. If the glove doesn't fit.
Well, my summary of what little media I've seen on it is that Stormy Daniels was a very poor witness.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen exactly the opposite in the press.
I think Bill Maher last night showed a clip of him interviewing her where she said something completely different to what she said in court. I mean, quite lucidly and openly. Implying that it was completely consensual and that there was no weirdness and she didn't pass out. So the implication is that she's lying.
But I didn't get it. I didn't get from her testimony, which I listened to through the CNN's live blogging thing, was that she never said that. She what she said was it was consensual. But it was really horrible because if
It
she had
doesn't matter.
exactly, not actually in terms
Yeah,
of the
that's not the
law.
case.
That's the
It's not.
question. This is not a sex scandal
Yeah,
trial.
yeah.
Okay? That's not what we're trying to prove.
No, you're absolutely right. But in terms of her opinion, her appearance on the stand, regardless
Is
of
she a credible witness?
yeah, regardless of what the prosecutors intended to do with her testimony, which I've heard a couple of different reasons why, and I actually agree with one of them.
But Tina, it's interesting what Tina just said, because the judge actually interrupted the defense.
Asked why they
Not the
didn't.
defense, the prosecution, and said, why are you going into all this detail on this sex stuff?
But he also went to the defense and said, why aren't you objecting?
And why aren't you objecting? Exactly. I think it's because the defense knows she's not a credible witness on those topics, and therefore give her a hole, deep enough for her to fall into.
But
I don't
you
think
talk
that's
about
it.
what a credible witness is really determined by the jury. And I've been to so many trials in my day that I could never tell you what a jury's going to come back with, maybe a couple of times. And
let me tell you. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Frank. I didn't realize.
no, but the bottom line is really she has nothing to do with the actual charges of the case, but it does go to her character and his character. And that's a seed that gets planted in the jury's sort of communal consciousness, and you don't know if that's going to be the seed that pushes it over the top, depending on which top it is you want it pushed over.
Well, the key was the possibility of a mistrial, which was rejected. But now everything I'm listening to is saying there'll be an immediate appeal if he's convicted based on the mistrial not being approved.
That's why they did that.
This thing will go on and on.
Well,
but
that
that's
was
why they
always
did
going to
that.
be the case.
Yeah.
If Trump doesn't get his way, he'll always appeal, and so you have that to look forward to. But going back to Daniels, the prosecution needed her testimony pretty much the way it was, although it was a little too graphic, because in opening arguments, the defense said categorically it didn't happen. Yep. So the prosecution was saddled with the need to say, no, it really happened. And because without saying it really happened, you don't have the whole mechanics of the hush money exactly. So this is really Trump directing his lawyers to be vindictive against Daniels as opposed to any strategy to win the case.
Absolutely. That's how I read it too, 100%.
There was also, wasn't there a portion of the defense where they were questioning her about condom usage in this particular incident, yet they claimed that they didn't have sex. It was some kind of like strange questioning.
Trying to avoid dirtying the sheets, Tina. That's all it was.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think they said what you just said. They said, Tina, or she said. I don't think that is exactly what she said, and I think that they proved through her testimony his character and did it or didn't happen. I think they proved it.
Has anything?
I mean, short of having a blue dress, I think they proved it.
I don't think I think the defense failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this didn't happen.
Which is the same as the prosecutors winning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, not really, because in law it's not that. That's not how it works.
In law. What's the law out there on the street? There's no law.
Well, the prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it did happen.
Not in TV land. They don't.
True. Oh, well, that's true. You're right.
And this is about an election and whether or not the American people are going to, bite the bullet and reelect Trump or not.
That's not going to happen. You know, just to burrow a little deeper in there, you really got a sense of Trump's sociopathy, his sociopathic tendencies in the recounting of the conversation that he had with Daniels. He asked a lot of questions about STDs and testing, which you would think that was some higher level discussion, but really he was just calculating whether or not he had to wear a condom.
That's right. Of course. Why else would he be?
Well, he is, if nothing else, transactional.
And look, and very much
That's
like a sexual abuse case, which this isn't, although, well, no, I'm not going to go into that. But like the sexual abuse case, we know that oh my God, I just got my own train of thought screwed up.
I'll say something while you're figuring it out. I mean, it feels to me as if this is all the sideshow, and on Monday when his ex-lawyer comes on stage, they're going to get into the campaign finance core of the case, and
Which he
whether or
has a
not-
recording of.
Well, it isn't really in dispute that she was paid and that he signed off on it. It's whether he used campaign finances to do that, and
No,
No,
that's
no.
not.
no,
oh, explain it then. That's what I thought it was. Somebody state clearly what the accusation is.
no, I
In
believe
paying
that
her,
it
he
was
made an
supposed to be
illegal
a private-
contribution to his campaign.
I couldn't hear Dennis, who was explaining it.
In paying Stormy Daniels, Trump made an illegal contribution to his campaign.
It was more than the limit.
Well, it was more than the limit, and it wasn't even earmarked as a contribution.
They changed and manipulated documents, which is a felony.
No, it's a misdemeanor in New York. The
But
felony,
it's a felony as it relates to campaign.
precisely.
And with campaign, they get that's where they get the felony.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
fine.
like Trump's chances. I think this is going to be much more than a Hail Mary pass for him to get off, or to even get a hung jury. If he gets a hung jury, the state's going to come right back and re-prosecute.
Do you think, and I think this is going to happen, that the defense is just going to go at on Monday at Cohen tooth and nails and get nasty and get down in the dirt and all of that, and that is actually, regardless of what he says, going to help?
He's going to testify. He's going to testify against Trump because he's already there. But I'm not convinced that the actual facts of what he's going to testify nail the accusation. I actually don't know. I'm not saying.
I don't think we do know. I think that they've held back a bunch of documents and recordings that nobody's heard yet. And because, look, these are smart guys. They're not going to put on a case that they don't think they can win.
Mhm.
Well, the prosecution has already provided much more corroborating evidence than is needed for a conviction. Cohen's job is to come in there and to say, yes, I was there for a couple of pieces of it.
Well, also that I paid the check because I was told to.
Yeah, or yeah. The thing that's going to have to come out is that Trump didn't, until very recently in his life, use messaging or social media, never used email, because he's following a pretty traditional course of never leaving a paper trail. There was a famous Boston politician who started this. He said, "Never nod when you can smile, never smile when you can wink." Something else.
So just confirm that this is what I understand to be the facts. I understand the facts are he paid Stormy Daniels from his own checking account.
Mhm.
True.
the lawyer who's coming on Monday.
Yeah, he took a second mortgage on his house to get
He took
the
a second
money.
mortgage on his house. It came from him. So Trump was obviously trying to put a degree of separation between the transaction and Trump. So I think the legal question is, was that effectively Trump paying? Which I think is probably yes. And they can probably prove that because the lawyer will say so. If you believe him, then that's kind of proven. So then the question is, was it a campaign finance violation for him to do that? I think that's the final question.
And I think that they've laid out a pretty strong case that that what he meant was pay her the money so she doesn't say anything that will hurt my chances in the election. That makes it a campaign finance violation. And I think that the corroborating witnesses have, in many cases, have either made that point or connected the dots between the money that came from the sale of the second mortgaging of Cohen's house that turned into a payment to the porn star through a check that was paid to Donald Trump, who then called it a payment back to the lawyer. So it's just so Machiavellian. It's ridiculous.
You know what's really bizarre in all of this is that Trump is alleging that, or they are alleging that there was a legal retainer and that the checks were part of legal payment, and there was no retainer, and nobody was smart enough, even after the fact, if they had done a legal retainer after the fact,
would have worked.
And before he received a check, a single check, done.
Yeah, who was his attorney then? Alina Habba?
Alina. No,
And-
I think that was Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was
Michael Cohen couldn't do it to
contract.
himself. That's right. He wouldn't do it to himself, so he didn't do it.
More interesting, I think, is to go up a level of abstraction, and I'm completely not convinced that no matter what the outcome, this has any impact at all on Trump's standing.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know. There's polling that says yes.
The polling has shown that if there is a conviction, that people would, a certain amount of people, a certain percentage would tend to not vote for him because of the conviction.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that, actually. But
Don't you think that's a more open-ended question where the people answering are thinking about January the 6th and trying to steal the election conviction as opposed to this porn star conviction? Because I'm going to doubt that the porn star thing carries much weight.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking that one of the areas where it would carry weight would be in the fundamentalist religious women in the evangelical movement, and that would be a swingable thing, because not only because of the trial itself, where he may or may not be convicted, but because of the salaciousness of the sex part of it, which is also
they seem to overlook that ever since he got 3 Supreme Court justices on the court.
I mean, he's already a proven groper. So if they're gonna not like him, they already have enough things to go on, which makes me question how religious they really are. It might be a community and social religion as opposed to a religious religion.
I think, though, the interesting thing is that in that first case, all there was it was traditional reporting and drawings. The one thing that's going on in this case that I think, and I don't remember if it was in the other one, but it certainly wasn't used as much, is this live blogging from the courtroom that appears right next to the drawings or to the group chat. And one of the things that I didn't like in the beginning of the live blogging was that every anchor would stop, and regardless of where they were in any conversation, they'd stop the conversation and read it, even if it was, she got up to take a bathroom break. Okay. you didn't have to stop for that, but they stopped for everything. And it made it feel like you were listening to an ongoing story, even in the boring parts. But I thought that in and of itself, coupled with this the sexual part of the story, is what would be compelling to that part of the electorate. Not all women, but I sort of went around a giant circle there with that one. There you go.
A few things I want to add. The thing that I was thinking about earlier that I, as in a sexual abuse trial, when a woman comes forward and testifies to a lot of detail, people tend to believe her. There's a certain amount of detail here, I think, that is very believable. And I think the hard thing for some people to get over is she's a porn star. What's the big deal here? She's being pressured by this older man to have sex with him. But that's her business, isn't it? But, like in sexual abuse, that it doesn't matter what a woman wears. It doesn't matter what she's saying. It's like, that's not right. Okay. So anyway, the detail is important. And I believe that women get believed when it comes to detail in sexual exploits like this.
Bill Maher characterized it as a description of marriage sex, as in, I really don't want this, but I'll put up with it. He minimized it down to, a lot of sex, it happens where one or the other party is not really into it, but doesn't object and goes through with it.
Yeah, but there's only one problem with that, and that there's on one hand there's a marriage involved, and maybe people can rise to the occasion, no pun intended. But here you have two people who are basically strangers to each other, and I just don't see how that can equate.
I'm not going to go into detail, but I can think of situations where you were less than 100% sure about things, but did them nonetheless.
Well, in the immortal words of Julius Erving, the great basketball player, being professional means doing what you like when you don't want to do it.
But that isn't the case anyway, Tina. I mean, you're right. It's sordid. I really honestly don't want to know about it. It's sordid. It does speak to his personality massively. I mean, why was he even there? Any rational person would say, what is it with this guy? However, that isn't really what they're trying to prove anyway. That dirt is his personality in the eyes of some people, but probably those people are already not going to vote for him. And the real question is did he commit a criminal act on the campaign finance stuff? So I think they've done their best to kind of further reveal his personality, and that's fair game, obviously. But that probably doesn't have anything to do with whether he gets convicted.
I wonder how much it cost him to hide the P tape.
Yeah, really. I think the other thing that we're going to see from Michael Cohen's testimony is that Michael Cohen would have absolutely no reason to be paying this woman. Now, Trump can say, I didn't ask him to mortgage his house. And probably he didn't. I think Michael Cohen suggested that he handle the transaction and keep Trump's hands clean as it can be, right? So he had to do a lot of stuff. I mean, getting a second mortgage on your house, you have to do quite a lot of paperwork. It's very deliberate. This is not just, a quick little idea and then it's done. It's a process. So he went through a lengthy process to pay a porn star who he doesn't know. So why would he be doing that?
Well,
Well,
they have
but
an
wait a
answer
minute,
to
they've
that.
got
There's
audio
another
tapes of
guy
meeting.
doing this for.
They've got audio tapes of him talking to Trump with a lawyer in the room that pretty much addresses that. Where they're, I guess, he said Trump talks in code. This wasn't so codey that he wasn't saying, "What are we going to do? Give her what do you think? 150?" That's they got that, and so
What were you going to say, Steve?
I'm just waiting for everybody to stop talking.
Good luck with that.
Going pretty well so far.
Brent has absolutely no, you don't care about this, do you?
No, Brent cares about it.
He does?
Also cares about,
Let's ask Brent when he
what's
cares
for
about it.
lunch.
Let's hear.
Yeah, what is for lunch?
See, I know, Brent.
Nah, you guys.
I'm gonna cut to
you
the chase.
guys.
I'm going to
Oh,
cut to
no,
the
okay.
chase.
He's talking right now.
I can hear him.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'll wait until you cut to the chase.
Well, that's what I was hoping to do, but I'm being overruled. So what were you going to say, Brent?
Oh, I'm waiting until we get to the hot topic of the week.
Which is?
Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I mean,
whoa, what a story!
About
Yeah, I read about that for, I don't know, 20 minutes and still don't understand it.
Oh, it's so rap culture.
Yeah, I don't really understand it.
Maybe Brent's going to explain it to you.
Okay, well, we'll get back to that right after I say around the table, what's the net impact on the election, starting with me.
What with the trial?
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to answer my own question.
Okay.
It has a massive impact. Okay, anybody else?
I think it's got an impact, but small.
I think it's got an impact, but medium.
I'm with Frank.
Brent?
I think it has next to no impact whatsoever.
Wow.
And Dennis and the Blue
I
Wave?
think I think we will have a hard time calculating the impact because what's already going on is that Trump is becoming a laughingstock. Late night TV, whatever else. You don't win the presidency being a laughingstock.
You also don't win it by not being able to campaign. I love the fact, though, that he has to sit in that dank courtroom every day when you know he doesn't want to be there. That has given me a little bit of a boost.
I'd like to bring evidence that laughingstocks do sometimes win the presidency. George W. Bush Jr. being a great example.
Presidency is
No, Kerry
best
was the
person
laughingstock in
No,
that.
let's not forget how this entire thing started was because of a huge event in Washington that was called the Correspondents' Dinner, where Obama killed him. And he was not a candidate yet, and he determined at that moment that he would do everything he could to, I don't know, either become the president or just get Obama hurt somehow. That
He was probably more quiet there than he is in the courtroom right now because he was just sitting there seething. You could see the smoke coming out of his ears as he sat and watched all the people around him laughing at him.
It was some,
and he couldn't do a damn thing about it. It was beautiful.
It was major laughs. It was huge laughs. It wasn't just, it was belly
Obama
laughs,
was
man.
funny. He was funny at his expense, and he had to sit there and watch all the people that he wants him to admire him laugh right in his face, and it was funny. It was great. I would love to see that again.
But okay, so he was a laughingstock inside that room. But I'm talking about being a laughingstock to the people who vote.
Of course, you're absolutely right. Yeah. I was making a point that he is
I
a
like the
laughing stock,
laughing
but
But Dennis, don't you? I have got this kind of gene in my head that says what I think isn't what other people think.
Watch out for
Like
those worms, man. Watch out for those worms.
so I mean I am somewhat able to describe why I think Trump won when he did and why he still got the percent he's got. But honestly, ultimately, I don't get it. So I'm inclined to interpret everything as he's screwing himself up. Whereas I suspect there are some people out there that he becomes more of a hero to them because of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what the nice thing
yeah,
is,
they live in
okay,
Georgia,
I'm
don't
not-
they, Brent? Sorry.
the question was who's going to win, and the answer is Biden.
Yeah, I mean, you've got about 150, 160 million people in this country who will vote. That's about what it was last time. And Biden last time won by 8 million votes. And
But then, the popular vote is an irrelevant.
all right. There's a lot of irrelevancy. You got the electoral college.
That's the main
point-
one. It's that
My point
popular vote. No.
is that Trump's going to attract a lot of voters. He's going to prove P.T. Barnum right. You can fool some of the people some of the time. There isn't, I've said this before, and probably too many times, but I don't think there's enough crazy out there for him to win the election.
Well, you can do that to some of the people all of the time, actually.
Well, no,
Brett, go on.
it's-
Sorry,
it's-
Tina.
It's just when you say that there's not enough crazy, the Tim Scott interview with,
Ugh.
I think that was the Meet the Press.
Kristen Welker.
Oh my God. Like,
What is it with you guys? You have two senators that are broke.
Yeah, in more ways than one.
and who knows which one is worse?
I think we should bring into the courtroom Biden's impact this week, which was his Israel statement about stopping sending weapons and the impact of that.
Mm.
Well, the Americans will continue to supply the Iron Dome missiles. Those haven't stopped. And I think all that stopped, quite honestly, was like the 2,000-pound bombs, not every missile that we send over there.
Right.
And,
Basically offensive weaponry.
Yeah, offensive.
But sit behind that is don't go into Rafah. And Israel's saying we can't defeat Hamas unless we go into Rafah. Now I can understand both sides. They're obviously motivated by totally different, but Trump has seized on that and is saying, Biden's abandoned Israel. And that is that's not a trivial issue. I think it
Not trivial, but it's not.
Said don't go into Rafah. He said don't go into Rafah in a big way.
He said protect the civilians.
Yeah, in an indiscriminate way.
But it's being interpreted as don't defeat Hamas
by Trump.
No, it's not being interpreted that way. It's being politicized that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
If you go on social media
Again, November, what's the date? We'll find out. That's the good news, is that it really doesn't matter what any of us think.
Well, I mean, what people think has been playing out on those college campuses out there.
To some extent. I mean, in 69, 70, 71, we were all doing the same thing.
That's exactly right. And
I mean, I remember when I
the
got done levitating the Pentagon.
What's that? Levitating?
Oh man, you had to be there.
Yeah, well, you had to not be there in order to
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
you had to be in that era at that time.
And as part of the excitement, I took out my draft card and tossed it on the fire.
Oh, you burned your draft card? Wow.
And well, I won't admit to that.
You just did.
I think you just did.
No, I didn't. I'm telling a story.
It's over on that one, Steve.
Trump has educated us that it doesn't matter what you say at any moment.
And by the way, Steve
I'm
was
still
about to
telling
say,
my story, however.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Hey,
I did that, and then I said, "What the fuck did I just do?" And I went to a phone booth. Remember phone booths across the street from the Pentagon, and I called my dad and I said, "Dad, I just burned my draft card. What do I do?" And he said, and allegedly, and he said, "Tell him you lost it."
you
Uh,
went, oh.
Or you could have said like your dog ate it or something like that.
Well, yeah, I did.
Allegedly, allegedly,
Uh,
allegedly.
Hey,
you know,
listen, I just put a link in the chat to all of you. It's a YouTube video. It's from CNN. It's a college professor of political science who's called 9 out of 10 of the last big elections, and he's got a dozen or so key metrics that he evaluates elections on, and he's been pretty good with. And his point is that Biden's not even close to not winning.
correct.
God, I hope he's right.
Is there another way of saying that?
Yeah.
I was a little confused.
He's going to win.
is that is probably saying Biden's going to win handsomely. If he's not even
Handsomely.
close to not winning, that means
Blue
he's going to win
tsunami.
handsomely.
Doesn't
gonna-
say that at all.
Gonna put on a tux and
I don't even care. I mean, not. I just want to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah. By one vote.
Sure.
This is not going to count anyway. Let's just go with the vote.
And don't forget, there's a lot of other issues that are bringing people to the polls, especially personal civil rights or personal rights and
Abortion.
civil rights,
Yeah.
as with the whole Roe v. Wade imbroglio. I think right there, that's a huge neg for Donald.
Yeah, but he's trying to turn it into not a neg because he's saying he is not with the extreme anti-abortionists.
Right. But he's also saying they didn't have sex. And he's also saying that, he's, lying out of both sides of his mouth
All done.
nonstop.
Yeah.
Somebody
I think
somebody
that's
said
the
that Donald Trump, even the words and if and that
Realize.
are all lies.
So I the way I'd measure it is do the women that were going towards Trump, which was happening in all the polls, shockingly, including black women, do the women that were going towards Trump
I do not believe that.
get massively outweighed by the women that go away from him due to the women's rights issue? And I think the answer's got to be yes. That the women's rights issue is a much greater emotional organizer of action than whatever it was Trump was conjuring up before.
Can we take a step back? What poll is showing black women are going to Trump? Please tell me this poll.
It was an NBC poll on Meet the Press a couple of weeks ago.
Who did the poll? I want to know who actually
NBC.
that poll.
I don't know who paid. They probably just paid for it.
They must have paid some sucker in licorice or something, because that ain't happening at all.
Now,
I'll tell you right now, that is not.
there's
You know what?
right now.
Anyway, that's a rat hole. Don't go
Paid
down
on
it.
licorice.
The other point, which is whether the women's rights issue is the strongest motivator of women. I got to believe it is.
I don't think it is. I think it's the strongest motivator of getting out the vote, which is why the polling has switched on most likely to about a 5 to 6 point Biden lead.
I think it was Thomas Edsall in the New York Times recently who pointed out that there are a lot of similarities between Democratic positions and Republican voters, especially rural voters. When you talk about things like childcare, those are things that's something that highly appeals to rural women, and it's been a Democratic position for a long time. And his point was that you need to attach the position to the party that can get something done for you in that regard, and you can make some converts. And there he had a small handful of issues like that.
So
I
I
have a
just
question.
I,
I'm
I
sorry.
just put a link on the polls from 538. And according to them, Trump's at 41 and Biden's at 40 and Kennedy's at 10.
Eh,
Well, luckily,
that
it's
seems low.
the Zoom clipboard where nobody can get at it.
Does that mean there's 9% or 8% that are haven't decided or are going to other third party candidates?
It's not stated. I don't. This was 95% of the averages of all the polls.
The rest are going for the worm.
I have a question to ask. Has anyone figured out yet, or even hypothesized, what the number of I guess, take away anything other than the popular vote for now, but what would the number be if of the popular vote that would ensure that it would be enough of a landslide that nothing Trump could do would matter, and no one would ever believe it? Has anyone even speculated this? It's 15%? Is it 18%? Has anyone heard that?
The popular vote is totally irrelevant.
But if the popular vote, does it not influence in the state the electoral college outcome?
No.
No,
Not at all.
It's a winner take all thing. So you could win your state by one vote, and you get the
But
electoral college vote.
I thought that there were some opportunities in electoral college for some splits, or is it always?
There's a movement in the United States right now among the states, and there are only a few. I forget what it's called. It's not ranked choice voting, but there are a few states that have said that that they would allot their electoral votes proportionately if other states would. So in other words,
I feel stupid. That was a stupid thing for me to even ask. So I know this, and it just seemed like there might be some mathematics behind that, but
There
yes.
probably is a statistical correlation between a swing state and the popular vote that just is a function of the fact that the swing states are part of the popular vote. So there probably is some statistical correlation, but my guess is the amount of the popular vote you have to win for the swing states to statistically come to you is probably like 12% ahead in the popular vote.
The
That's a
popular
number.
vote has nothing to do with the election.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm just saying there might be a statistic.
If you were to rephrase as what would the outcome in the electoral college have to be? You need like 270 to win. I think
That's
probably right around 300. If you had 300 electoral college votes, that would be enough of a
There you go.
landslide.
Okay, that's what I was asking, Dennis.
Well, that's what Biden
That's
got
what I think.
the last time, and it wasn't a landslide. It was just a clean win. And, so the impact on the media, for example, is ridiculously irrelevant as well. The whole premise that there's some sort of correlation between the two is, I just think,
Well, except for the example of how high up in the electoral college would you need to win in order to obviate the people that believe Trump is telling the truth.
Well,
there
take
is
the
no
last
number
time as an example, and do it in reverse. Trump launched 61 lawsuits to invalidate various vote counts, and he lost 60 out of 61. So if you do it backwards, when you get around 300 electoral college votes, you actually have such a big problem that the loser can't mount an effective challenge.
There you go.
I think.
Well, there you may not go.
All right. Well, since we're completely confused by this latest point, Brent, can you explain the Drake scenario?
It was a rap battle. Have you ever, you know what a rap battle is, Steve?
I can guess.
Okay,
I don't know.
that'd be interesting. I would love to hear
Yeah.
your guess on what a rap
Substitute
battle
two
is.
guitars for two rappers.
For two microphones.
Yeah.
All right.
It's actually like it's like a dance off. You know, one person does thing and someone else is then tries
It's
to them one.
it's sort of like, you know what, you ever heard the term playing the dozens?
Mm-mm.
Like,
Sounds like a poetry slam.
it's a slam. It's like, your mama is so fat, blah blah blah, and then another person says, well,
Okay.
your mother is so
So somehow
imagine
got
that
out of
put
hand.
how do you imagine that put to beats, and instead of talking directly about them, although there was some mama talk in this rap beat thing, these guys and everybody, I mean, well, most people, like young people, I'm trying to extremely qualify my statement.
Hey, I know what you're talking about.
Well, that's because you're Sir Frank. But the Drake and Kendrick Lamar are two wildly popular rap people or hip hop artists. Although some people don't really claim Drake as that because he grew up on, people know him from a kid show back in the 90s, and he didn't grow up on the mean streets like some of these other guys are. Anyway, they're both huge, and for some reason or another, they have disagreements, and now it's kind of turned to hate. And over the last week, one would drop, I guess you call it a song, but it was a diss song. They call them diss tracks, and all it is them rapping about the other guy for like 5 minutes, and so one would do that, and like literally hours later, the other guy would respond. And this went on for like a full week. Like, one would come out, then the guy would respond, then the guy would respond to that. And they would do it. And their songs are like different speeds, different tempos, different kind of genres, but it was always talking about the other guy. And if you look on like YouTube, these things were getting like over the span of a couple of hours, multis of millions of views for each of them. And then all these people were reacting. You would even on the NBA playoffs, when TNT went to a music break, they would be playing these diss tracks that were literally just coming out the day of the actual basketball game.
Wow.
And so it got to the point, I mean, you would turn on the news and people were, are you team Drake or team Rolling Stone put an article out declaring that Kendrick Lamar was the winner. I mean, Rolling Stone for a rap battle.
And you know what? Every marketing guy that was attached to those two artists was just sitting there with a big smile on their face and probably a huge cigar and bottle of cognac going, yeah, this is great. We're not even doing it. And the money is rolling in from the accumulated plays and social media that each of these guys can command right now.
They literally made you forget about Taylor Swift and Beyonce for at least a couple of days.
Wow.
So, Brent, is it dangerous? I'm guessing this never gets to much beyond writing, but does it get to guns?
Let's hope not. It could, because let's face it, Tupac and Biggie.
Tupac,
I mean, back in the 90s, there was an East Coast, West Coast beef thing, and it did end up, they both ended up dead, getting shot. Oh, let's hope.
And by the way, Brent, I don't think Diddy lived on the mean streets.
Yeah, but he wasn't a part of it. Actually, he was catching, as the kids say, he was catching strays, because even while they were going against each other, other people would get lumped in and get a stray thrown at them. And Diddy got plenty of strays thrown at him. But anyway,
he sure did.
I just thought it was fascinating because I remember back in the 80s when like one of the first legitimate rap battle beefs was LL Cool J and Cool Mo D. And, it never, ever, ever got to the magnitude of I turn on the local news channel and they're talking about the beef, whereas this thing is like I'm not kidding. I was everywhere I went in Vegas. I was in Miami. You turn on the TV watching, like I said, ESPN or TNT. You couldn't get away from it. I'm surprised they didn't break in the Trump trial and start. Do you guys have a opinion on who won the beef? Because it was to that point.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I'd like to take a poll right now. Who won, Drake or or Kendrick Lamar? Let's say Dennis, who do you think won?
Believe it or not, that's not something that I follow. So I don't want to.
Well, I read a whole article about it, so
Ooh.
I know as much as anybody. And I would say that although I like Kendrick Lamar more, I think Drake probably won.
Oh, this is becoming an instant clip.
No,
I
you
just
know what?
Steve
It's
Gillmor
it's Kendrick
weighing in on the
Lamar.
WAP battle.
Yeah, it's
I'm
Kendrick
not.
Lamar who won.
I don't want to take sides against any of these guys who may or may not have guns. So I'm going to say it's a tie.
Oh God.
No, it's
All
Kendrick
right.
Lamar.
I'm going with Kendrick, but I got my clip for the week, buddies.
Brent, I don't know if it's relevant, but it triggered in me all of these childhood memories where when you're from the poor side of the street and you kind of get into normal society by going to college and stuff, and you're mixing with all these kids from the good side of the street, you have this duality inside you. On the one hand, you're kind of grateful to have escaped. On the other hand, you fucking hate the kids from the good side of the street, and you want to beat the shit out of them. Not really, but you want to be better than them. And so you have this deep burning thing driven by your, kind of the status of being projected to be a loser in life that just thinks F you to all the kids who it was projected would be winners in life due to their upbringing. So I think deep in those conflicts like this, there is something really, really deep about the class structure of society and the hatred that both the losers and the winners, well, I think the winners have fear and the losers have anger. Losers in quotes, not actual losers. I mean, successful people that came from the bad side of the street. You have a lot of anger. I've got a shit ton of anger in me that I control. I never let it come out. I'm civilized about it. But if you sat me in a shrink's chair and got me talking, there's a lot of anger in there.
Well, I think your
I think
stuff.
we'd call it a chip on the shoulder.
Yeah.
This took a turn.
But you're
for the
going to
dark.
call it a tie.
I'm a
no,
K-Dot
no.
guy.
I mean, I'd normally side with a kid from the poor side of the street.
Which one would that be?
I don't know enough about it, but I think it's Kendrick Lamar, right?
It would be K-Dot. Yeah. All the kids call him K-Dot. So.
Yeah.
Well, I like him, but I think that Drake is, by default, he's selling more records.
Well, that might be true, but on the street, like on the mean streets of where I live, it's Kendrick Lamar. By the way,
Think about John Lennon and Paul McCartney. I mean, I naturally gravitate to Lennon, although I don't even think Lennon was really from the very, very poor side of the street. But Jagger,
Art school, for God's sake.
yeah,
Well,
and
yeah,
same with
exactly.
Jagger.
he went to a poor art school.
Same with Jagger.
Didn't he go to a poor school
No.
too?
No, Jagger went to
London School of Economics.
Yeah.
London School.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but hey, Brent, don't you think that Drake's sort of been on the wrong side of the news cycle since the car accident?
Yeah, he's not helping himself out here. And by the way, here's the definitive reason that Kendrick Lamar wins. Prince brought him on stage once to rap alongside with him.
Oh,
there you
That
go.
ends the
That's
discussion
it.
altogether.
So that's done.
Isn't Prince another art school kid?
Well, he didn't even have to go to art school. He went to public school, and by the time he was 17, he had already mastered 20 instruments. So
Insanity.
It's like my son. Check out GRG Bambi on Apple Music or Spotify. GRG Bambi.
GRG. What does the GRG stand for?
Get Rich Gang.
GRG Bambi.
copyright
Bambi?
infringement.
Yeah. His songs are good. I think you might like him. I'd love your opinion, by the way, Brent. He
I
needs
wanna
help.
check it out.
He needs someone in the music business to discover him because he's quite good.
Well, that ain't
What
me,
is
but
it
I'll be
again?
glad to check it
G
out.
what?
GRG and then
Bambi.
separate word Bambi.
Bambi
Yeah.
on YouTube.
On I think it's on YouTube as well. Yeah.
By the way,
It's on everything. It's on everything.
speaking
So
of,
there was no.
Hang on.
Oh, ah.
I was just gonna
Let me
add,
start.
since you said GRG Bambi, there's another Prince tie-in. One of the best most underrated Prince songs is called Bambi.
Right.
Ah.
Okay, Tina, go ahead.
What's the chance that Lamar and Drake orchestrated this?
Totally,
100%.
100% totally.
Yeah. And then the next thing they're gonna do an album together.
Yeah, something's coming. Yeah.
So this wasn't a real
Well,
fight.
part of
This was
this-
a PR fight.
No,
Part-
I think it
part
got a little
inspired
realer
them
than they
together.
expected it to.
They were lucky they had something to go after each other for at the exact
Yeah.
right time.
Yeah, and I think it might have spun out a little out of control because some of that stuff wasn't, you could tell it wasn't exactly supposed to come out the way it did.
Ah,
See, and if you think back to to LL Cool J,
That's my rap battle.
you certainly weren't hearing the same kind of language back in that day.
No, no, not at all.
Who's buying the new iPad?
Wait a minute, you haven't ordered yours already?
Of course you-
Mine's coming on Wednesday, dude.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I've been thinking about it, but it's because it has the new M4, right?
Yeah.
one of them is the Pro.
The Pro, right? And the new mini OLED. I mean,
I got the small Pro, as Trump said to Stormy.
That's 10 inches, right?
Yikes! No, 11, I think, right?
If the condom fits, you must acquit.
You got it. See, there's some connection to the trial of the century here.
Yeah. So, what's going to be the impact on the election of Drake and Lamar?
Well, I'm surprised
think-
Trump hasn't weighed in and claimed he gets to decide who wins, and I don't know.
Look, it
He
goes
invented hip hop,
it goes to what Keith says. In that case, Steve, they both win.
Oh, they're both winning in this one. They're both going to make some big money.
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like the first half.
But we're all winning because Doctor Who started yesterday.
Yeah, and I actually started watching it, and then had to do this show. And I'm gonna
Who's
go
the
back
new
to it.
doctor, by the way? Is it the black guy or
It's
woman?
it's the black guy. I actually think he overacts a little bit. I'm kind of.
He's
I'm
bringing back
hoping-
Matt Smith kind of era.
kind of.
Hey, guess what? I saw Matt Smith live on stage in London.
Really?
It's a play called
This is where not caring really pays.
all right.
Oh man, I'm gonna go back and finish watching Doctor Who and hope for the best.
Enemy
I'm
of
sure.
the People. Check it out online. An Enemy of the People. It's a Scandinavian guy, Ibsen play.
Wow. I like Matt Smith. He's always good.
Yeah, I like him too.
Um,
Still, I mean,
That's all.
the Doctor to me is David Tennant. Now, honestly,
You know what? I think my favorite now is Peter Capaldi.
oh, he was good too, especially when he played the guitar.
Yeah.
Because he actually does play the guitar.
is he related to Jim Capaldi?
I
Right.
don't know who Jim Capaldi is.
He was the guitar player in Traffic.
No, I don't think so, but he is related to the other
Louis Capaldi? is
Louis
the-
Capaldi. They are definitely related.
I DJ'd Traffic live on stage at the Penthouse in Scarborough in the 70s.
One of my favorite bands in the 70s ever was Traffic, and them and the Spencer Davis Group were actually my two go-to bands.
Spencer Davis Group were great.
Oof,
What about Caravan? If you like Traffic, you should like Caravan.
I love Caravan. I do.
I don't even know who they are.
Caravan is a Canterbury band that was in the genre, or it's like a bit before Pink Floyd, but a lot of instrumental, jazz rock fusion-ish, but also weird.
My go-to weird at the time was either Zappa or yeah, he was my go-to weird guy. There's no doubt about that.
I,
Hey, but
it is alleged that I went to a caravan concert at my university whilst under the influence of acid, and then drove a car home.
I did that at a Stones concert in '73.
I
And
think
by
you
the way,
guys,
I couldn't drive.
I
That was
think
the
you guys
first
want to
time I
start
ever drove a
using.
car.
I think you guys want to start using that alleged word again. I don't know what the statute of limitations are. By the way,
car
we're not
ran-
on Facebook. Did you know we weren't streaming on Facebook?
I
Yes,
couldn't find. Yeah, I couldn't find it.
and I don't know why, and we'll have to fix that.
Oh, okay.
That concert, the car ran over my foot, and I didn't even know it until I was like awake the next morning.
As
What
you
is that?
don't.
What is that pain?
Why are my toes hanging off?
What happened? Anyway,
It's funny how violence to your body is funny when you're on drugs.
go figure.
It's
The
hilarious.
good old days.
Yeah.
All righty then.
Everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't.
Allegedly.
Bye.
Bye bye. Okay.